Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to another narrated Pokemon Wi-Fi battle. Today's battle is an NU match that I had against an opponent by the name of KotaTriceratops, and as you can see from the team preview, both of us are using some pretty underused, never used Pokemon. I've never actually fought a Krokorok before, so that was kind of cool that my opponent brought one. He also brought a Kecleon, which is very uncommon to me at least, and also a Dustox, which I know extremely well how threatening that thing can be once it starts setting up. So I'm a little bit worried about that initially. Also, he does have two poison types, so my Beedrill is completely useless in this battle. I might be able to get like a knockoff on something, but it's mainly there to set up toxic spikes, and I'm not going to be able to really do that at all, which kind of sucks. But the MVP of this match is definitely going to be Gabite, and you'll see why later in the battle. I'm also using a really fun Alomomola set that I absolutely love, and if you ever see me using that, just assume that it'll be this set because it's so much fun to use. But anyways, let's jump into the battle right now. So to start things off, I lead off with my Gigalith, while my opponent leads off with their Mawile. Now, without wasting any time, we both just set up entry hazards right away. I know this match is kind of a disadvantage for me just because he got the Intimidate off and because Mawile is pretty physically defensive, so even though I do pack Earthquake, I know it's not going to do a lot. So figuring the Iron Head, I switch out into my Alomomola, but my opponent makes a good play here and goes for the Super Fang, which is going to obviously do half, or do damage equal to half of your current health. But luckily for me, since I am an Alomomola, I do have Wish and Protect, so I'm able to recover all that health back, which is really nice because obviously a healthy wall is a good wall. But my opponent goes for Dragon Tail here, revealing to me that it's a very weird set. Then, because on the following turn, like this one right now, he goes for Knockoff. So it has Knockoff Dragon Tail, and then since I was kind of thinking it was physical, I went into Gigalith anyway, but then he goes for Volt Switch. So it's a very odd set, but it works because it's so weird, and it's kind of like an odd utility set. But it's cool in the same regard. But anyway, I go for the Toxic here, hopefully trying to get it on the Electros, but I get it on the Krokorok instead, and then on the switch he does go for the Pursuit, which is really nice play for him because he gets some solid damage on my Gigalith, which turns out to be very important later when a Pokemon comes in and is able to take it out at the range of health that it'll enter once it gets the entry hazard damage done to it. But anyways, my opponent switches out into the Garbodor on my Alomomola. I can't really do much damage to it, so I switch out into my Gabite to threaten it out, and I go for the Dragon Rush on the predicted switch to the Electros because obviously Electros packing the Levitate ability will be immune to an Earthquake. But here I just basically go out into my Sawsbuck to take whatever hit happens, and he goes for the Dragon Tail, bringing my Alomomola back in, which normally would be a very bad matchup except for the fact of what basically is going to happen and why I love using this Alomomola. As you can see right here, my Wacan Berry activates, meaning that I take reduced damage from electric type moves, and then on the following turn I Mirror Coat the Pokemon that comes in. And this happens so often because obviously most electric types will go for Volt Switch on this thing, so you end up killing a Pokemon on your opponent's team just because they try to switch out and get an advantage. It's my favorite thing to do. It's like Triple Counter Blissey, except Alomomola and Mirror Coat. Anyways, here I go out into my Beedrill to take the special attack since this is max specially defensive Beedrill. And since I know this thing wasn't going to do a lot of damage in battle in general, I just kind of leave it in here. He gets a crit right here. I hardly think that mattered, honestly. I went for Roost. I'm not sure that would have really made much of a difference, but either way, I knew Beedrill wasn't going to do anything there, which is kind of unfortunate. But here he does switch out into his Dustox while I go for the Protect, hopefully trying to get some more poison damage on it, but unfortunately I do not. So I go for the Wish right here to obviously maybe pass it off to something on my team, but as I mentioned before, because of the Pursuit damage that Krokorok got on my Gigalith, when it comes in here it'll be unable to live this Bug Buzz and get back up to full from the Wish, which was very unfortunate. It would have been very nice to have that around because at this point I'm not really sure how I'm going to kill this Dustox. Luckily I do have Heatmore, but honestly, once it starts setting up with Quiver Dances, I really don't know if Fire Blast is going to be enough to take it out. But here he does go into Kecleon. Kecleons are obviously naturally specially defensive, so this Fire Blast does a bit of damage, but not enough for me to kill it, and with the color change ability, I'm obviously not going to be able to kill it on the next turn because I can't go for a Stab Fire Blast. My opponent does go for Hone Claws here. I guess this is a more offensive Kecleon, but I just went for Giga Drain to recover a little bit of HP and also change its type to Grass, making me now able to kill it very easily with the Fire Blast. I knew it probably had Sucker Punch, but honestly there was no way I could have avoided that. Since Heatmor is a fire type, I can't really switch around too much with it with Stealth Rocks on the field. But here I do switch out into the Alomomola, predicting him to not go for Pursuit. I figured I had to force him to want to make that move, because if he did, I would have been at a huge advantage. But luckily for me, he doesn't go for it. He goes for Earthquake, which I'm obviously able to take very well with Alomomola. And now I switch back out into my Saucebuck. This thing doesn't get to do anything this battle, unfortunately. And then he Dragon Tails me out into the best possible thing that he could have Dragon Tailed me out into. I was really happy when this happened. Electros was a huge problem to this entire team. It was just lasting a very long time, being really annoying with all of its moves, but finally I'm able to take it out with a Fire Blast. Here I'm assuming now this is the turn he would go for Pursuit. But he actually doesn't and goes for Earthquake instead, which is really good for him. I just went for Sucker Punch because I figured I was going to die. Yes, I pack Sucker Punch on a special Heatmor because I don't run a minus attack nature. I just have the priority for the hell of it, because he really doesn't get a lot of other attacking options. But here he just basically goes for Earthquake. Can't really do anything about it. It's +1, so it does a heck of a lot more damage than it normally would. But here, seeing this Dustox, I actually switch right out into my Gabite. And this is where the match starts getting a little tense from my perspective, because I see Quiver Dance, I know it has that. The Dustox that I personally runs Toxic and Max Physical Defense with Quiver Dance, so you can basically stall things out really easily. But this one, as opposed to having Toxic, packs the Iron Defense. So now it is not only boosting its special attack, its special defense, and speed by 1 stage every time it Quiver Dances, but now it also boosts its physical defense by 2 stages with Iron Defense. So this thing is becoming very bulky in both areas and very difficult to take down. I do have Hone Claws on this Gabite. This Gabite is basically meant to be abusing the Dragon Rush move, because not a lot of Dragon types actually get to make use of it. Gabite's one of the few ones, so I figured why the hell not make a Gabite with Hone Claws and Dragon Rush. But the thing about this is that my opponent is boosting still, and I can't really do anything about it. So I'm just constantly firing off Earthquakes. The thing about Dragon Rush is it does have an added chance to flinch, but because of Dustox's Shield Dust ability, that won't actually happen. But here he finally attacks with Bug Buzz, and it does just enough to hit me down to where my Slack Berry is on the turn that I get it to activate, now making me faster than Dustox, thus allowing me to kill it, which is really nice. I actually did a little bit of calculations on how that worked out. I'll talk about that later. But anyways, I go for Endure here on the Mawile just to check if it had Sucker Punch, and because I thought it'd just be funny to be like, haha, Iron Barbs damage, or sorry, not Iron Barbs, Rough Skin damage. But he doesn't actually pack it, so he just goes for Seismic Toss. Obviously doesn't kill because of Endure, and then I just take it out with another Earthquake. So to basically talk a little bit about the Dustox Gabite scenario, it does have enough speed to outspeed me at +2, but not at +3 when I have a +1 speed boost because of the way that our speeds are. So that was the reason why I was able to outspeed it, even though he did boost his speed stat higher than mine. But yeah, that ended up working out really well for me in the end. My opponent was like, oh man, I made a miscalc there. I'm like, well, you couldn't have predicted me to have Slack Berry on Gabite, because who else does that? But anyways, this was just a really fun battle where I got to show off a lot of fun Pokemon I enjoy using, especially the Alomomola, which is possibly my favorite set to run on it. But anyways, thank you for the battle. That was it for this video though, so as always, take care, goodbye, and I will see you next time.